Today we're going to talk about sexuality. Now, when I talk about sexuality, I go back to Sigmund Freud and his life drive, Eros. Eros comes from Cupid, remember? And the reason he called it Eros is because it's like our libido. He saw our libido, our sex drive, and our life drive is the same. I kind of agree with him. You know why? Antidepressants, because anything that kills my libido also kills my creativity and my life drive. So that's why I agree that those two things are intertwined. Now, when I talk about sexuality, I'm going to talk about some surveys, famous surveys first. Then we'll talk about studies where they watch people have sex and videotape it. And then also talk about sexual orientation, which I save for last. Okay, the sex surveys. Oh, I forgot to have this on here. There's a few problems with surveys that I want to bring up. One is self-selection bias. What does that mean? It means people can choose to do it or not to do it. And especially with sex surveys, as they go, hell no, I'm not doing that. I'm not telling you what I do in the bedroom. No way. So what kinds of people choose to do the survey versus what kinds of people choose not to do it? The other thing is self-presentation bias. This happens to me every time I go to the doctor. They go, do you drink? Do you smoke? Do you do illegal drugs? It's like, dude, I'm at the ear doctor. Fuck you. I'm not telling you any of that shit. I'm going to present myself like I don't do that stuff. So people do that a lot in psychology. They don't want to present themselves in an unfavorable light. The one I focus most on, because I work for the Gallup organization, is representative sample. It's like I have to make sure that my sample of people I ask mimics what society looks like. Are there the same number of white people and black people, rich people and poor people, whatever? You know what I mean? Young people and old people, sick people and well people. So I'm into that kind of angle because I used to work for Gallup. Now, the first survey that I want to talk about, it comes from Alfred Kinsey. I love this guy. He's so awesome. He's way ahead of his time. Back in the 1930s and 40s, and he was asking people about their sexual behavior. What do you do? And he asked a lot of people. Talk about a good sample size. It's almost 18,000 people. But he excluded a bunch of those people. I don't know why, but on the basis of certain things. But he still ended up with a really good sample size of men and women. And based on this sample size, oh, I forgot I had this on here. One of the reasons I showed this is this. Okay, he had a lot of people, but it wasn't representative because he only asked white people from Indiana who were Protestants. It's like, well, if you want to know what white people from Indiana do in the bedroom, that's a great study. And this is why I'm into this whole representative sample thing. So he had those problems, but he wrote these two controversial books in the 40s, late 40s and early 50s, I should say, and actually was blacklisted. If you watch this movie, it goes into it. It's like the government was like after his ass. It wasn't just like he says you can't be talking about stuff like that in books, what people do in the bedroom, and all this crazy ass shit. And so go and watch the movie you want to. I know it's kind of Hollywooded up, but I like the movie a lot. Okay, so what were his findings? If you look on here, there was a double standard for men and women. What does that mean? Well, extramarital sex. You see, there's a double standard here, right? And also it uses this right here, masturbation, double standard, that men and women, men are kind of more sexual than women, or at least they express this. And so it might not be true. The other thing he finds are these things. Look right in here. If I can erase these first two. 37% of men say they have a gay experience. I mean, that's really high for the 1940s, right? Women too, that's crazy. And even being primarily gay right here, that's pretty high for people to admit in the 40s and 50s. Okay, so I hope I made sense on that section. Okay, the second survey is called the Playboy Survey. Why? Because Playboy, the magazine, commissioned this guy Morton Hunt to go out and update Kinsey's findings. And so you think about it, it's the 70s, it's kind of the sexual revolution. We're going to have like a much better take on what people do in the bedroom. And so what were the problems with this study? Well, one thing is there were a limited number of cities. And the second thing deals with self-selection bias. Like 80% of the people, when you call them up on the phone and say, hey, I'm with the Playboy Foundation, would you click? Most people are like, I'm not telling you anything about my sexual behavior, especially the Playboy Foundation. So only 2,026 people nationwide answered the survey. Who are these people? Are they like the rest of the nation? I would argue no, and that's the self-selection bias. Okay, so the best one, as far as the test goes, is the NORC survey, which means National Opinion Research Council. And this obtained a representative sample, and it also showed that standards were getting more liberal. I don't have to really teach that. This is the 90s. I think it's 93 or 94. I'll show it on the next slide, but only 30% of people surveyed now felt that cheating was wrong in all circumstances, or that sex was only for procreation. Okay, so also on the NORC survey, men reported more varied interests. What does that mean? They wanted to have more partners, group sex, anal sex, all these different things, using pornography. So maybe women use pornography or other things like that, but they don't report it. That would be the self-presentation bias. Okay, so when I stack the three together, if I can get the third one over here, one of the things to take away for the test when you look across the three surveys is this: the double standard is kind of decreasing. Now the double standard, let's say for premarital intercourse, it's getting closer to one another. Okay, so women are becoming more sexual. Maybe they're allowed to become more sexual. And also there's these lower estimates for homosexuality. That's what I really don't understand. Right here and here, why in the 90s and the 70s are people saying they're less gay than they were in the 40s and 50s? That just doesn't make any sense to them. Okay, so enough about that. Just remember this little part right down here for the test. Okay, I have one more to show you. You don't have to remember a lot about Oliver and Hyde, but just the generalities. And the reason I'm showing all this is because when I say men are like this and women are like that, it's not just Tim saying it. So remember our friend, the meta-analysis, where you go and review a bunch of studies? Well, in 93, what Oliver and Hyde did is go and review all the studies where people had asked questions on sex surveys and then summarize the general findings. So this was a real powerful study. And what did they find? For men masturbate more than women and accept casual sex more. Okay, that's what I want you to know for the test. But also later on, when I get into relationships, why that maybe sometimes when I say, oh, men are sexual in this way, it's like it's not just me. These are like a ton of studies that are saying it, not just Tim. The thing that they found with women, and this is why I wanted to show this one in particular, is that women report more sexual anxiety and guilt. I mean, I've been around a lot of girls that have that. It's like that sex is dirty or bad or whatever, especially I'm a Catholic. Think about Catholic guilt and sex. Come on. And that part of this, not masturbating as much and having guilt leads to a harder time reaching orgasm, if I can get all this off of here, and also buying into the double standard. Oh, well, guys are just more sexual. They're horn dogs. Women aren't supposed to be as sexual. It's like, is that true? You know what I mean? But this is the thing I want to talk about. Now on the next slide, I have this little thing. So I'm going to argue, see, here's men over here, men, and here's women over here. And if you look at it, that on average, yeah, men are more sexual than women, but it doesn't mean a woman can't be really, really sexual down here. So let me erase all this stuff. I'm just going to argue on average that men tend to be more hypersexual, oversexual, and if women have a disorder, they tend to be more hyposexual, undersexual. We used to have the term frigidity. We didn't apply that to men, we applied it to women. And back to Catholic guilt, and one of the four, stereotypes of a woman, purity. Are you a virgin? Are you going to get married in white? All that bullshit. You know what I'm talking about. And so this leads to this thing called the dilemma of desire. I'm going to go back to my favorite movie here, Grease. I love Sandy. I love this Sandy. Sweet Sandy, not dirty Sandy. I mean, it's like men want both things, right? And they put women in betwixt. It's like, okay, I want you to be kind of a good girl, but a bad girl. And so women, according to this research down here, I don't know if you can see it, are warned much more often than guys are about the dangers of sex. It's like we kind of like let our sons, it's like, oh, just go on out there and like try to get laid. And girls just like, dude, be careful. You could get pregnant. You could catch a disease, this, that, and the other. And we talk to our daughters where we don't talk to our sons. I kind of agree with this. Okay. And so what she goes on to say with this dilemma of desire is that we tell girls, be sexy, but not too sexual. Don't send off the wrong signals. Don't be a prude, but don't be a slut. That's the whole Sandy. Look at me, I'm Sandra D, brimming with virginity, won't go to bed till I'm legally wed. Not me, I'm Sandra D, right? And so in the media, girls are portrayed as the object or victim of desire. I would argue this is pornography. If you look at pornography, it's not like for the girls, it's for the guys. And the girls are just this object that are for the guys' gratification. I know that's kind of dark, but the movies are like this too a lot. And so you could consider it kind of soft pornography. But anyway, there's this dilemma of desire about women's sexuality. And this is why I wish we were in class and I could talk to the women about it instead of me, who's not a woman. But anyway, to see if you feel that caught in betwixt. Okay, this next section is called the direct observation studies. There's just one study. I shouldn't have put plural, but there's these studies where they videotape people having sex and then they do these scientific analysis of their bodies and stuff. It's like, it's kind of weird. I would never sign up for this. And plus, these two weirdos are the guys that are going to watch you the whole time and videotape you and do the analysis. Okay, but they did advance things. They did this study in 1966, the same year I was born. And so they would videotape people having sex, either intercourse, oral sex, or masturbating. And one of the things is they threw out women who didn't have regular orgasms. So that's a criticism. But for the test concern, there was 276 married couples, 106 single women, which is kind of a lot, but only 36 dudes. I kind of think that's a performance issue thing. Okay, but anyway, let's go to the next slide. They identified 4 phases of sexual response. The first phase is you get turned on, excitement. The second phase is you kind of stay in a holding pattern there, plateau. The third phase is you have an orgasm, and the fourth phase is you come down to planet Earth. Okay, so when I talk about these 4 phases, I usually show these pictures in class, but I don't like them. But this is the analysis they're doing. They're going through and measuring all this stuff about your penis and your scrotum and all these. I don't want them doing all that on me. If you're a girl, you don't want them down there measuring all this stuff about, your different parts. Maybe you're not like me, but I don't want to do that. Okay, so anyway, this is what I really wanted to show. When it comes to male sexual response, here's stage 1, guys get turned on. Stage 2, plateau. Stage 3, they have orgasm. Stage 4, they come down and they have to have time to do it again. Simple as pie. Guys are simple in more ways than one. Girls are more complicated in more ways than one. Because phase 1, okay, you get excited. That's about the same. Maybe not. And then it's phase 2, plateau, which I don't understand this. Girls can ride the plateau and not have an orgasm, but still say they had fun. Guys don't like that. They don't want to be in stage 2. That's like frustrating. And then also multiple orgasms, right? And maybe you do just act like, have a single orgasm like a guy, and all these different, combinations. Now, there was a famous report back, I think it's the late 60s or 70s, but I could be wrong about this, the Height Report, and it really went into female sexuality. And one of the things that they have been looking at for a long time is that females have more problems than males reaching orgasm, especially during intercourse. Some that have this to do with clitoral versus vaginal stimulation. This is what they covered in this book. But also it could be due to things like the sexual guilt or less masturbation that I was talking about before, because guys explore their body, girls don't as much, but I think that's changing. And I think the sexual guilt thing hopefully is changing as well. Okay, so I think I have one last thing. Yes, I knew I had it on here. But when it comes to sex, that men tend to be more visual. I'm just going to say, yes, that's true. Me right here, a man. You know what I mean? Is what you see. Women, it's more about the story. Yeah, maybe it's what you see, but there has to be a story, and we'll talk about this later in relationships. And so I'm not just saying this. This is a female psychologist, Esther, saying it, that women are more contextual about the story, and that men are about the connection is about sex. You know what I mean? And later on, I talk about intimacy. Men say sex is intimacy, and it's like women go, that's not exactly the same thing. Okay, I hope that section made sense as well. Okay, I saved this section for last because it's what I really want to talk about, sexual orientation. They used to call it sexual preference, but it's not what you prefer, really. You were born that way. When did you choose to become straight? Okay, so anyway, don't get me started yet, but I'm fixing to get started. Okay, I want to talk about straight people, gay people, and bisexual people. I could talk about pansexual and all these other different categories too, but right now I'm just going to focus on these three categories. As far as straight people go, I'm just going to mention one study. It's one of my favorite studies. It comes from Nancy Netting in 1992. What did she do? She went on college campuses and she asked students who were straight, what is your style of sexuality? She found three styles. One was celibacy, no sex. Two was monogamy, you just have sex with the person you're in a relationship with. And three is free experimentation, just anything goes. Okay, so number one. When she found amongst celibate people, she found 32% of men were currently celibate, and 36, it's about the same amount, were currently celibate, women. Okay, but the different reasons for it. This is why I love this study. When they ask women, it's like, because I'm waiting for the right guy. And when they ask guys, it's like, because there's no girls I can have sex with right now. It's so silly, but it is really true, kind of about the indiscriminate male and the choosy female. That's why I talk about it all the time. Okay, so monogamy. 61% of women said, yes, this is right. Like in a relationship, we should just be having sex with each other. It's like, that's the thing. Like about 63% of men said, no, that's not the thing. It's a big difference here. Again, why do I have this little crane on here? Well, cranes are monogamous for life. I think penguins are too. It's like there's all these different animals. It's like, oh, that's so sweet. You know what I mean? The animals would be monogamous. Even this researcher right here, McCormick, argues that women are much more likely than men to see sex as a part of a committed relationship. To me, that goes back to the contextual story thing. Okay, so number three, free expression. I stole this little pansexual symbol. I love it. Mama, does that make me pansexual? I don't know. Okay, so 33% of men said that anything goes is a good thing. I'm surprised it's not a little bit higher. You know what I mean? Whereas 14% of women, that's 86% of women saying, that's not a good thing. So I would argue either that's the sociobiology thing, or it could be sexual guilt and stuff that I was talking about before. Okay, so now I want to talk about the next set of people who are gay people, and I love talking about gay people. I always say gay people saved my life. You know why? Because they were the first group of people in Atlanta, Georgia to take me in and say, Tim, we love you just the way you are. Oh my God, that's the fucking new covenant. Don't get me started on the church and gay people, but I will go there. Okay, so experimentation. Here's where I'm going to get fired up. Most people who have had sex with the same sex don't choose to be gay when they grow up. Here I am, right here. You know what I mean? I've had experiences with other guys, but that doesn't make me gay. I know what I like. I like girls. I mean, I've tried scotch and I've tried bourbon and I like bourbon. Why? Because I tried both of them, right? I've tried alcohol and tried weed and I like weed a lot better. Okay, so enough about that. This is one of the things I like to ask my gay friends. Does one opposite sex experience make you straight, that you're really a closeted straight person? It's like, because they want to go, oh, well, you've had sex with a guy, that means that you're just not willing to come out. It's like, yeah, fuck you. You know what I mean? I know who I am. The second thing is hypersexuality. This is a controversial study, but anyway, they found that gay couples had the highest level of sex. That doesn't surprise Tim because I've been around the gay world, and lesbian couples have the lowest level. And that straight couples, this is why I think straight couples are less evolved sometimes, are caught in the middle. They're not on the same page sometimes. Not all the time, but some of the times. Okay, so next section, here we go. This is my favorite thing. That's why I always keep coming back to it. Identity versus orientation. This is why I think people don't always get me. Maybe it's partly my problem too. I don't care what parts you got. I just rewatched Boys Don't Cry. I was mentioning it. When she goes to get him out of prison and says, I don't care if you're a man or an ape, I'm getting you out of this fucking place. It's like, oh my God, I'm just bawling like a baby. But I identify as male. I know I'm a man. My orientation is I like girls. I want to have sex with girls. And then my expression, oh, that's a problem because I like doing this and I like scrapbooking and I like doing all these different things that are not appropriate to express as a male sometimes. Okay, so here we go. If you're a male and you act masculine, we call you normal. If you're a female and you act feminine, we call you normal. But if you're on these categories, then you're incongruent. It's like, oh my God, because I was very femme, but I'm a man. But it has nothing to do with who I like to go to bed with. Get me? Okay, so here we go. I started thinking of it in 3 dimensions. I hope you can see this, right? Are you a man or a woman? I don't care about that shit. Are you straight or gay? I also don't care about this. Or in the middle would be like bisexual or pansexual. Rock on. It's like, but here, do you express as femme or butch? This is my shit because it's called gender expression. I don't care if Young Thug wants to wear a dress or I want to do my hand a certain way or I want to arrange flowers or do makeup with the girls or go shopping, which I like all of the above. That don't make me like to have sex with boys. Okay, so made me think of this. I've been to Pride too many times and also to too many gay and lesbian bars. Okay, lesbian bars, the lipstick lesbians. You're like, oh my God, yeah, look how hot that girl is, but she's a lesbian. You're, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, aren't lesbians supposed to look like this? No, some women that look butch actually like having sex with guys. And see, this is what turned my world around. It really saved me. Because I thought all gay men at one point were like my ass, big fairies, and then I would meet these really butch gay dudes. And it's like, if that motherfucker can be butch and be gay, then my shit can be right over here. That's who I am. I can express in femme ways sometimes, but I don't have any identity crisis as far as what do I like. Okay, so, excuse me, I identify as queer. People don't like that, but that's who I am. I'm queer. Genderqueer means I don't pick a category man or woman. I don't pick a category gay or straight or even bisexual. Fuck that shit. I differ. I've always been different. I love being different. I used to hug the trees goodbye at my grandma's yard and they're going, what's Tim doing? He's actually hugging the trees goodbye. So I reject these distinct categories, just like genderqueer people do. And so this allows for this fact that I can be queer and be attracted to women, and some people can be non-queer and attracted to men. Did you just get me right there? I hope you did. Because I loved this song from New Order when I was a very small boy. Very small boys talk to me. Now that we've grown up together, they're afraid of what they see. Oh, it hurts so good. Oh, it hurts so good. Because a lot of times people ask me, are you straight or bisexual or gay? And I just say, I'm sexual. And that's why Tim is queer. I hope you like that. Okay, while I'm on a roll, I might as well just keep on going. I'm going to talk about homophobia. It's something that's so near and dear to my heart because so many gay people have been like persecuted for being gay, and there's a long history of it. And so when I talk about homophobia, I want to talk about this fucking nonsense. These people that stand out with this bullshit. Because gay people are awesome. And if gay people aren't loved by God, then fuck God. It's like, come on. God created gay people. They didn't just choose to be gay. It's not a perversion. It's who they are. So when you look at hate crimes against gay people, it's crazy. And so here it goes. You think, oh, okay, everybody's more accepting of gay people. And it's like from 1992 to 2010, gay hate crimes are going up. So don't tell me about how everybody's accepting of gay people, because you need to go look up Matthew Shepard. You need to go look up, Brandon Tina or Tina Brandon, the real story about how these people were slaughtered just for being gay or transgender. Okay, so this is one of my heroes. I love this man. I love him, love him, love him. I'm a supporter of gay rights. Me too. And I'm not a closet supporter. I'm going to yell it from the rooftops. I've never been able to understand these attacks. When I really think about all the things that make a person great, what they do with their private parts is probably so low on the list that I don't give a fuck. And so this is what I want to talk about because I cannot understand it. I cannot understand the hate against gay people. I don't understand it. And it's not fucking Christian, I'll tell you that right now. And so when it comes to coming out, to me, coming out has to do with the courage to be yourself. That's why I love gay people. They have the fucking audacity to be them fucking self. To be themselves. And they lead by example because they're being themselves. I can be myself. And so in those lovely neighborhoods where gay people flourish, around those areas, people are able to liberate themselves from all kinds of other things. Be who you are and say what you feel because those who mind don't matter. And those who matter, they don't fucking mind. They like you just the way you are. Sometimes I think America's made out of a lot of closets and people are so afraid to come out of the closet and say, here I am. This is why I love doing Molly. MDMA. You heard me because you come out of the closet and it doesn't matter if you're gay or if you were molested or if you came from an alcoholic family or this or that or the other. You can just come right out of the closet and say, this is me and I'm okay. Oh my God, I got so verklempt over all that stuff. I had to take a break. But anyway, we have one small last section, but I saved the best for last, bisexuality. When I talk about bisexuality, I love this idea from Sigmund Freud. He stole it from one of his colleagues, Wilhelm Fleiss, if I said that right, but innate bisexuality, that everybody's really born bisexual. Now, I've done way too much MDMA, Molly, if you know what I'm talking about. So I agree with this. I totally agree with it that you could go either way, but then you just tend to like lean one way more than the other. Now I know I'm kind of arguing against myself, but that we all are bisexual at birth, and then we become monosexual later on. Now, if we were in class, we could get into a big argument about this, but I love this guy. He's my hero. I know he shot himself, but that's part of the reason he's my hero. What else should I be? All apologies. What else should I say? Everyone is gay. I love you, Kurt. It's like, so here we go. Alfred Kinsey, back to my man that we started this whole lecture with. Why is there sheep and goats on here? He says, males do not represent two discrete populations, gay and straight. The world's not to be divided into sheep and goats, black and white. All these. This is what the mind invents, are these categories. If you were in my social class, I'd go into this whole thing about racism, you know. And he says the sooner we learn this about sexual behavior, the sooner we reach a sound understanding about sex. And so he has this 7-point scale, the Kinsey scale. So over here, you're truly gay, just as gay as can be. You know what I mean? Over here, you're truly straight. You know, not a gay bone in your body, but in here, and you're in the middle. And he argues it's a continuum, and that most of us are right here, just like Sigmund Freud and kind of like Tim. You know what I mean? But I think society argues it this way. There's 3 big boxes. There's a great big box, and that box is for straight people. There's a real small box, and that's for gay people. And there's a real tiny box, which is bisexual people, and those people need a pick box. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay. Okay, so the last little thing I was going to go into, and we're going to be done for the day, but I've talked a lot about homophobia. But there is heterophobia. I mean, my favorite word just about is breeder. Look at these fucking breeders. You know what I mean? It's like, Tim, be nice. You know what I mean? Those are nice straight families over there. Because it's just like I get resentful sometimes, and it can go both ways. Now, the LGBTQ alphabet soup, I get tired of this shit. First of all, I already told you transgender is not a sexual orientation. It could be straight or gay, so that just goes right out the window, right? So that we can just go on and on and on with this, but I think I have one quote to end up with, and this comes from Simone, and she is a famous feminist. I love this picture of her. It's so fucking awesome. But anyway, she says being gay is just as limited as being straight. It's like the ideal should be to be capable of loving a woman or a man. That's why I love Boys Don't Cry. It doesn't matter what you are, I will love you. Can you dig it? I hope you can dig it. I hope I don't start crying again, but this is what it means to be pansexual. Okay, I hope you like my lecture. I'll see you next time.